What is going on, guys? All right, rivalry week is done. That was yesterday. We're going into championship weekend. All the conference championship games are coming up. Some big upsets yesterday after the week 13 games. So let's jump into the top 25 after yesterday's week 13 games. At 25, I've got UNC, the Tar Heels. They went down to NC State this past weekend in a, what would we say is an upset loss. The Wolfpack took out the Tar Heels. At 24, Mississippi State won the Egg Bowl by 2. 23, UCF did come on top of South Florida, but they needed every minute of it, and kind of a crazy play there at the end, but did hold on. 22, I've got Texas. 21, Purdue, which is going to be playing in the Big Ten Championship now. 20 is going to be Tulane. 19, South Carolina finally got their monkey off their back with beating Clemson in Clemson. They went to Death Valley and did hold on for that 1-point win. Shane Beamer's team actually has the first time in South Carolina history taken down 2 top 10 teams in back-to-back weeks. So the Gamecocks are on fire. Should look at a pretty good bowl game for them. 18, I've got UCLA. 17, I have Oregon, who went down to Oregon State yesterday. 16, I've got Notre Dame, who through a valiant effort through 3 quarters ended up succumbing to Caleb Williams' bid for the Heisman at USC. So they did take a loss yesterday, but Marcus Freeman's team did put up a good fight for about 3 quarters. 15, I've got Oregon State with their big win over Oregon. 14, I've got Clemson on their collapse at home to South Carolina yesterday, virtually eliminating them from any chance at the playoff that they did still have with an ACC championship win. At 13, I've got Kansas State, who locked in their Big 12 championship appearance with their win over Kansas last night. At 12, I've got LSU, who absolutely fell apart in Aggie land in College Station last night. Brian Kelly's team took on a 4th loss and pretty much eliminated them from any kind of playoff bid, even if they do upset Georgia in Atlanta next weekend. At 11, I've got FSU, who played the Gators on Friday, and that team looks on fire. Jordan Travis looks like a madman with the football, and he played an incredible game against the Gators in Tallahassee. So FSU at 11. At 10, I've got Utah, who, with the Washington win last night, will play for the Pac-12 championship against USC. At 9, I've got Washington, who took it to their in-state rival Wazoo last night. It was a late game. At 8, I've got Tennessee, who absolutely throttled Vandy with their backup QB in. Obviously, Hendon Hooker is out for the season, so I did bump them back up to 8. At 7, I've got Penn State. At 6, I've got Alabama, who took the Iron Bowl very handedly. Auburn wasn't really in the game, even with a few late-minute pushes. I love that Cadillac Williams had all the fire. I think that would be a solid coaching try for them for a year. The Auburn program is a little down right now. I don't see the problem in giving Coach Cadillac a year to see what he can do with that program. I would enjoy seeing it. But 6, I've got Alabama with their win in the Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa yesterday. At 5, I've got Ohio State, who was upset at home. They took a loss to Michigan in the Horseshoe, and it was a pretty decisive victory for Michigan. So that's why I don't really drop them too far, because it was number 2 playing number 3. So I have OSU right outside the top 4 at 5. At 4, I've got USC with Caleb Williams. That team just knows how to win. I do think they will go into the Pac-12 championship and avenge their long loss on the season against Utah in Vegas come Friday night. So the Trojans are at 4. At 3, I've got TCU, who had 2 pick sixes yesterday. The offense was humming, their defense was really good, and they absolutely blew out Iowa State yesterday. So TCU definitely has respect in my book, going 12-0 on the season, and will play in Arlington for the Big 12 championship. So that team looked fantastic yesterday. So go Frogs on their undefeated season. Great job, guys. Number 2, I do have Michigan. Taking it to Ohio State was definitely what they did yesterday. They walked into the Horseshoe in Columbus with College Game Day there. I do think a noon kickoff helped a little bit, but they were absolutely more physical on the ball, and Ohio State just had a few blown coverages. So their defense, while maybe a little bit better, still has problems on the back end, and at the end they couldn't stop the run. The run absolutely destroyed them, and Corum wasn't even in the game but for 3 plays. So Michigan at 2 for sure. They looked pretty spectacular yesterday going into the Big 10 championship in Indy. I'm sure they'll be at least 15-point favorites over Purdue. And at number 1, I've got Georgia, who were asleep yesterday through the first half and then ended up pulling away from Tech. That reinvigorated Tech team after their new coaching switch mid-season. They did come up with a couple of ranked wins the past couple of weeks. Had a good bid on Georgia. They were playing well, the defense was playing well, and that first drive was good. But the only 2 touchdowns they got was the first drive where Georgia was absolutely sleepwalking, and then the last drive in garbage time, knowing that Georgia had the game in hand. The way that I decided 1 and 2, while Michigan did have a win over number 2 on the season and took it to Ohio State, I do think that the AP number 1, Georgia, playing the playoff number 1 in Tennessee, and Georgia coming away with that win, outweighs the OSU win for Michigan, and it's just kind of been all season. Nobody's been able to take out Georgia, so for me to move them out of the number 1 spot, you got to take them out at this point in the season. So maybe we'll get to see that. So your championship games will be Georgia versus LSU in Atlanta. The one in Arlington will be TCU versus Kansas State. The Pac-12 in Vegas will be USC and Utah. The one in Indy, the Big 10, will be Michigan versus Purdue, and the ACC championship will be Clemson and UNC in Charlotte. I think the winners of the first 4, if it is the top 4, get in absolutely. Chaos tends to happen if Georgia, Michigan, TCU, or USC takes a loss. So we will see how that plays out. I do not think the ACC champion gets in at all, with Clemson falling apart to USC, South Carolina, at home yesterday. So those are my top 4: Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC. I happen to believe those 4 teams will win their respective championships. And I still tend to think that USC, with a good showing, will leapfrog TCU, no pun intended. And your matchups for the 4-team playoff will be Georgia and TCU in Atlanta at the Peach Bowl, and will be Michigan and USC at the Fiesta Bowl. So, all right, guys, enjoy this. We've got one more regular weekend of college football with championship games on Friday, and the Pac-12 championship is on Friday night, and then the rest are on Saturday. Enjoy this. College football is starting to come to a close, but man, do we all love it. If you agree with me, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. If you don't, which a few of you had some colorful comments on TikTok, but I appreciate everybody taking time to let me know where you think I may be mistaken or where I'm not. All the likes really does help. I appreciate everybody. So, guys, until next time, Fam Jam, I'm out.